morning or just afternoon, everyone. It is good to see you here. I'm going to be brief because actually I'm kind of double booked, but I had a nice speech all written out, left it at home in the rush, but God said, you just talk to him from your heart. And actually, housing is something that is very, very a part of who I am. My career in banking, I've been from one end of this country to the other. Seen all kinds of things, seen developments come and go, seen developments that were good for about 10 years and fall apart. That's not good housing. That's not affordable housing. That's not workforce housing. Workforce housing is something that we should aspire to as a city. And one of the things I'm so proud of for being on this council is that is one of the issues that is at the forefront of what we're looking at. Housing is a human right. Amen? It is a human right. And one of the things we have to be careful of, well, let me go back because in my career in banking, I started out as a credit analyst and moved my way up. But one of the things I noticed when I came to Georgia is that there's something that's called high-risk zip codes. High-risk zip codes was another form of redlining. And believe it or not, when I came here, Georgia had one of the highest foreclosure rates in the country still. And now here we are. I've been here 30 years, 36 years. And still we're facing the same problem. So what I want to do is first thank Ms. Middlebrooks for her dedication, for her knowledge, for her passion for housing. I want to thank each and every one of you for being here this afternoon because actually you're thinking of the same thing I'm thinking of in terms of this is a crisis that we have to address. And I'll say this and then I'll sit down. But education is key. Housing education is key. One of the things I did for years was go around and have financial literacy workshops, showing people how to fix their credit, those kinds of things. One of the big barriers to housing instability or housing equity is our lack of knowledge. It really is. Some people just don't know how to budget. Some people know nothing about credit. These things are important because what's the old commercial that used to come on? Knowledge is power. It really is. It really is. And we have to take the knowledge that you'll gain here from these types of events and utilize it to your advantage. Because actually, at the end of the day, you can't, without that knowledge, without the education, you won't be able to acquire generational wealth. You really won't. And I hate to say it, and I might get in trouble, but I'm used to getting in trouble. That's right. But there are forces out there that bank on you not knowing. Let me say that again. There are forces out there that are banking on you not knowing. And we have to be careful. We have to be careful because if you look at today's climate and what's going on, that is something that we have to stand guard on. So this event is not just for our education, but for the education of our neighbors, of our families. We take this and we utilize it because at the end of the day, if we cannot address, we cannot fight, we cannot resist that which we don't know exists. Amen? And with that being said, Thank you again for being here. My name is Ron Davis. I'm councilman for District 1 and your mayor pro tem for this year. But it is an honor to serve you, and it is an honor to be here. Well, wait a minute. You know what? I didn't thank the EpiCenter. Pastor Boyd, thank you so much. We love you. We love you, brother. But take this information and use it. Don't let it sit. Information that is not utilized become inert. It really does. And it becomes useless. So use this information to your advantage. And now I will turn it back over.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Councilperson Davis. We really appreciate that. All right, so now the president of the Empire. No, what was it? You're shaking your head. I was just going to say that she didn't make it, but I do want to acknowledge the Empire Board of Realtors, Marvetta Bozeman, but she didn't make it here this afternoon. So with that note, we're going to continue to move on, and I'm going to bring up Donna Middlebrooks. Donna Middlebrooks is amazing. You guys probably already know her. Middlebrooks Realty Group. You know, this lady is a real estate extraordinaire, real estate professional beyond measure. She's also a part of our Word of Faith family and one of the greatest supporters here of the Riverside EpiCenter. Donna is going to moderate today's panel, and she's going to bring up our esteemed guest this afternoon, so that way she can kind of tell you who they are, what their knowledge base is, and why they're so good to be on the panel here today. So without further ado, Mrs. Donna Middlebrooks.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I love being under the covering of the Word of Faith family. And so thank you all for coming out to the EpiCenter today. We're going to get straight to it because I want you all to get that knowledge that Commissioner Davis just spoke of. So I'm going to introduce our panel. First up, we have Ms. Amy McCoy. Amy McCoy is a realtor and realtist in this area. And I say realtor and realtist because you will hear from our panelists today that the Empire Board of Realtors is a co-sponsor for the exhibit upstairs. And you'll learn more about the difference between different type of people that have a real estate license. Secondly, I want to call up Ms. Archie Emerson. Ms. Archie Emerson is a former past president of the Empire Board of Realtors. She is a realtor and a realtist as well, but her hat that she's wearing today is as our NID housing counselor. So she's going to speak to you about how we help you with that transition from rent to keys that you own. Thirdly, I want to bring up Mr. Corey Mason. Corey Mason is with Lincore Capital. He owns his own mortgage company. And I want you all to hear from him from a perspective of how do we get things right to get yourself in alignment for those keys, okay? What do we do? What are the steps that you need to take? And before I even go even further with the panel, I want to go ahead and properly introduce our Madam President, Dr. Bozeman, to come up and have some words. She just sat down, I'm sorry. But she's ready. She is always ready. She is always ready. So come on up and bring some words on behalf of the Empire Board of Realtors, ma'am. I was just cordially introducing them, softly introducing them to the organization.
Well, thank you, Madam Donna. I have to shake off this traffic. I came from Jonesboro a little while ago, and 285-20, I tried to get off and get back on. It's just been a mess. Wow, look at the Empire Board of Realtors family. I preceded Madam Archie, so I have much love for her. And she's also our National Women's Council president right now. And the dynamic Amy McCoy. Amy gonna fight for everything. I think Amy probably even fight for ants that's running around, that's being redirected.
All about environmental justice as well, man.
Absolutely. And Corey Mason. Thank you all so much. And this is what we do at Empire. We show up. We show up and we come out and we speak to all of the injustices that we see that's happening in our communities, in our nation, and we roll up our sleeves and we're not quiet about it. As Empire Board of Realtors president, I have the ability for traveling around the nation and seeing the different things that is happening to us as a people. And we all know it. I know I'm speaking to the choir when I talk about the different things that we are seeing. But one thing that I am not seeing enough of is people joining the fight. And I am here today to make sure that everybody here knows that if you want to join, if you want to say, hey, what can I do? Empire is here. We don't turn anyone around. We do not say that, oh, well, you're not a real estate professional. We don't care. If you have an advocate bone in your body, if you have that fight, that will to want to make sure that everybody has fair and equitable housing, we need you. No matter how big, no matter how small, we need you, we want you, because we are not scared. That's one thing I can say about Empire and NARAB. And you all have seen these people plenty of times, and you know anything about little Spitfire right here, ain't never, ever, ever, ever scared. So what we do is kingdom work. I tell everybody that is it may earn you, nice little spot, up in a greater place. But no, just kidding. But anyway, please reach out to any of us if you want to know any further information. You can find us on empireboard.org. We have so many different communities that you can join, so many different ways that you can use your talent to continue this fight to make sure everybody have their God-willing talents portrayed and fair and equitable housing. Thank you very much, Donna.
Thank you, Madam President. All right, let's get this show started because I want to make sure we have all the time you all need to hear the information as well as have some time at the end for questions. So let's get started. I'm going to start because we have this amazing exhibit upstairs that we hope you will take a moment to walk around before you leave. But we have a fair housing and equity exhibit calling Keys to Equity that has been placed upstairs. It's a soft opening. We too thank the EpiCenter for allowing us to bring the exhibit here on the road show. So I'm gonna start with Miss Amy. Amy, how has the history of housing discrimination in America and Georgia shaped the neighborhoods and home ownership patterns we see today?
That's a very good question, Donna. It's almost a very loaded question because
It is absolutely loaded. That's why I sent it to you.
and that's why you sent it to me. Because when you think about the gravity of what today is, right? It's election day. The Keys to Equity exhibit really highlights housing policy and where it all started. So yes, it started in 1832, but it took till 1968 for us to actually have the Fair Housing Act, which actually helped in providing a level of, I kind of want to put it as a level set. In protecting classes such as your race, national origin. There are certain things that we have to continue to move the conversation forward, because it wasn't until the 70s where we had the inclusion for women to be able to open up bank accounts or even being able to put their name on a deed to say that they actually really owned that property. And then it wasn't until the 80s when we actually added disability, and then when we added familial status. So even women with children could still have housing, right? And so as we are still including, even for the LGBT community in the late what we had in 2016. I mean, there's always going to be additional inclusions, but we have to be present in the moment. We have to see where we are and actually have be conscious with it, because what may be seen in the South could be different than what the exposure is in the North, what is happening in the West. As you heard me just say, there's a lot when it comes to environmental justice. But one thing that I've noticed, no matter where you are in this country right now, or even when it comes to territories, is source of income is a major issue. And that's what we're talking about, affordability. Because right now, it may cost you, or you may have bigger barriers in rentals than you could in affordability of owning a home. And so we really have to take a look at what those languages are. And as you heard the Mayor Pro Tem saying just a moment ago, when it comes to, even Barack Obama had mentioned, President Barack Obama during his campaign to become president and serve his two terms, is that, your zip code dictated what happens from where you're housing, your education, your financial situation. So that's why I say it's a very loaded, because once you understand where the level set begins, where we are in time, then you can actually say, okay, here's my starting point to say, here's how I properly advocate for myself. So when I hear something or when I see something, I know how to properly say something, right? And then how I can ask my neighbor who may be in a rental situation, or maybe they're in an owner situation, but they see that there is a situation that then you could say, hey, I need you to come stand with me on this injustice that we're experiencing right now, because what I do know is it's not just a me thing. I'm recognizing that there are other people having the same issue, and we together can actually influence policy, maybe in that community or maybe in that region. I happen to have the luxury of not only just serving here from a local level, but on a state level, national level, and I have been consulted to come help in other countries that are even not United States domiciles, to actually look at what their policy, their citizenship looks like, in order to making sure that even in people in their communities have an opportunity, one, for home ownership, actually have a stake in their community, but then to making sure that their countries, okay, actually can bring tourism in. So again, as they are a developing country, and I'm talking about countries that have been for a while, but it's about making sure that they're doing smart growth. We coined smart growth in different municipalities and
Y'all
counties.
notice I asked her a loaded question, right?
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I'll leave them room to say something.
But do not start your panel with the most passionate person. That's what we just learned. But we're learning, and I appreciate that, because Amy just took us from the 1830s to current day 2026. And I want to transition that over to Ms. Emerson, because as a housing counselor, what are you still seeing in today's environment as you're now interacting with those that need direction? What are we still seeing from the redlining errors, from the zip codes that Mayor Pro Tem Ron Davis, shared?
Well, the thing is, it still exists. I'm a certified HUD housing counselor. I've been doing real estate over 35 years, and I've seen a lot of changes in a lot of communities. I live in Clayton County. When I first moved there, predominantly my area was white. I think it was maybe 2 blacks in there. Now it's predominantly black or some Mexican, and it has changed. A lot of things have changed, but as a HUD housing counselor, I service here all the way to the Alabama line. And there's so much changes that are going, but the lack of knowledge just say we perish. But I can't get my people to come out to get the knowledge. I'm killing myself to say you need the knowledge, but things are yet changing. Now we have different things going on. The voters' right. We fought to get the right to vote, but yet now it's about to be taken away. I'm asking, why are my people not coming? Did we get lazy somewhere along the line here? That's what it looks like as I go out and we're truly trying to fight. I'm here because she has the same DNA I have. She has the same DNA. We want change for our community. We are here trying to fight. Martin Luther King has died and gone, but guess what? He still lives in all of us. So there's some Martin Luther King already been born and out here ready to fight. And we fought. People died on Selma, Alabama, crossing across the bridge to get the right to vote. Fair housing came about in 1968. HUD, had the housing counselor doing then. But for some reason, our community don't know about it. It's free to you. Guess what? The typical rich person has a financial advisor that they pay for. You can come and get a financial advisor from HUD for free. Did you all know
Say that again.
For free. They help you understand your credit. They help you, he talked about, what society is. Yesterday, it used to be cash was king. Right now, credit is king. Absolutely. Unless you finna go pay cash, they're going to ask you, can I get those digits? And if it ain't a certain area,
those 3 digits.
Get it. I'm sorry. That's what we are. And yes, you can be in a certain area. During COVID, it changed. Now, housing prices up there. You could buy a $150,000 house before COVID. You can't get that now. I'm sorry. The average affordable housing exists is about $350,000. But income did not increase. So how do we continue? It say you have the right to have home ownership. But they changed the game for us. So how do we encourage our people? But guess what? The rent market went up too. So now And then so, we make bad decisions when we don't have the income. I don't know if we got lazy. I don't know where we went, but we're still out here. Yes, knowledge is power, but potential knowledge, what do you do with the knowledge once you get it? Are you going, because it's here. We do the classes. We can have 50 people sign up, 5 show up. Why? We're in one of the best states there is that offer so much down payment assistance. Even lenders have a lot of in-house down payment assistance.
Oh, sound like she just queued up Corey Mason, didn't she?
Yes. So, yeah. So, he's going to talk about, I ain't going to get, but see, our job is to help you and guide you through that process, help you understand from renting to home ownership. So that, unfortunately, we do have people that can mislead you to buy something that ain't there. That is what we educate you so that you won't get put in that trap. We've seen that. Someone pay someone $30,000 thinking they're gonna get the home. Guess what? They get there and somebody evicting them, putting them out, said, "This is not your house," and they done lost $30,000, and they can't get the money. The people gone.
Because they don't understand the
Yeah,
process.
because they don't
Right.
understand the process. You need a real estate professional. You need to understand the lender process. You need to understand insurance. You need to understand that you need to be leaving a legacy for your family. It talks about that. A generational wealth, not just for your kids, but your grandkids, your great-grandkids. It's already put there for you. We're here. This is everybody's time is valuable, but we take the time to make sure our community is educated. Listen, the White House ain't coming. We are the cavalry. They're not coming.
All
We
right.
are the cavalry.
Yes, yes, yes.
Coming in on the White Horse, the Brown Horse, you can call it whatever you want. Most of my class, I am called auntie, grantee. You can call me whatever you want to. But my job is to get you from a 500 to a 700. That's the job.
Come on.
And you may not like me in the conversation, but it's okay. We still gonna love each other at the end of the day, because it's all about how do I get you there? How do I change your mindset to understand that you have to have a budget? You got to. If Bill Gates live on a $500,000 budget and he's that rich, why ain't you living on one with $36,000 a year? I don't understand it. You got to, because society is cruel. What we call lifing knock on your door while you least expect it. You driving down the highway, it was great, everything was good, it was going on, and it taps on your back. And if you're not prepared, it derails you. And now you make bad decisions when you derail. You don't have anything. You don't have a support system. You can't go get down from grandma. You can't get down from cousin. But it's about how do we change your mindset to understand it ain't yesterday is gone. It's not coming back. Tomorrow's not even promised. We're living in this moment right here today. If we get to tomorrow, we'll deal with tomorrow. But let's live what we're going on today. So I'm not going to stop up and let him talk about the
Y'all see the passion of this panel, right? We do this every day, you all, and that's why I brought this panel before you, because we are passionate about moving the needle of home ownership in our community. Just to drop a little stat, because I'm that person that likes to drop it. Right now, Amy mentioned about the amendments that didn't come into the 60s. All right, so we're talking about the Fair Housing Amendments, Amendment 13, 14. You can go all the way up, right? But from then, I think, 1954? 1954 for 13. All right. Anyway, I'm having a mind blank. At the end of the day,
1800s is the 13th Amendment.
no. I'm talking about gosh, I just drew a blank, y'all. I'm so sorry.
That's
But
okay.
end of the day is I want you to understand that in our community, we only have 41% of home ownership. 41% of home ownership in the Black and minority community, compared to in the white communities, it's at 72, 73%. That's a 30% gap, you all.
Donna, you need to tell them that's where it was when Martin Luther King.
It is. That's exactly where I was going.
So if you think we have more housing right now than we did then,
We don't.
and there's a more inventory on homes and more people, so really it looks bad.
It is.
If it's 41% now and they have fewer homes
50 years ago.
During that time, and we have 41%, if you add up the number, we really look like we maybe be in at 30%. honestly.
And keep in
Yeah.
mind that's 30 percentage points, not necessarily just a 30%.
Yeah.
Correct.
You know, that's a major difference, you know.
Yeah, it's huge. But I wanted to drop that for you all to just think about as you're driving around in communities. And we always hear people say, but I'm working on it. I'm working on it. I'm working on my credit. I'm working on repair. But do you know what that looks like? So that's why we have experts like Corey Mason sitting up here to say, it is still there. You've heard Amy allude to it. You've heard Archie allude to it. But he lives and breathes this every day. And what is he living and breathing? He's still seeing that disparity. You're still seeing we people. I asked him to specifically talk about the myths and the things that you're still seeing. Because I heard on Instagram, I heard on TikTok, I heard on something that if I do this or do that, this is how I can buy a house. And that's not the case. So we're here to bust some myths. So go ahead with it. Drop 3 of them, Corey.
Wow.
Just bust the myths wide
See how
open.
they put me on the spot. So here's the first myth. You need 20% down to buy a house. That is not accurate. You can get a home for as little as 3% down. You can even get a home with no money down. You have to work through different programs to get there, whether it's grant, whether it's down payment assistance, but the down payment shouldn't stop you from starting the conversation. I would also say that you also want to save money because buying real estate requires money for appraisals, requires money for earnest money. There are things that you will need, but don't let the fact that you don't have 20%, 10% down discourage you from buying real estate. And, as I sit here, the other piece is you can't invest. And so I didn't really give you this one, but we have an opportunity to buy investment properties. And I say I mean, as a people, have an opportunity to buy investment properties. Did you know that even if you don't own your current home, there is an opportunity for you to buy an investment property? I said, did you know? So again, you can be a first-time buyer, first-time investor, and there may be a loan for you to buy that first investment property. Now, here's the catch. Those three digits that you mentioned, that credit part is extremely important. So when Archie talked about getting you from a 500 to a 700, well, you need to be closer to that 700 side of the spectrum. Doesn't mean that you need to be perfect, but it means that you need to be going in the right direction. You need to show the history that allows you to qualify for that next purchase, whether you're going to live in it or not. And then thirdly, you have to have, as a myth, you have to have a 700 credit score to qualify. That is also not accurate. You have programs available down to 400, 450. I won't get too specific because we'll be here all day, but you don't want to be in the 400s. But if that's your starting point, you have to start from somewhere. So typically what I always say in conversations like this, it's about turning on the light. Many people make the assumption, well, I can't do it now. I got to wait. I'm working on my credit. And that's my pet peeve. If anyone knows me, if you ever tell me you're working on it, you might as well not talk to me because I don't understand what it means. Either you're doing something or you're doing nothing. Working on it, I don't get it. So working on your credit without a plan means you're actually not doing anything. Connect with the professional. Make sure that you understand the actions that you need to take so that you don't cause negative damage to your credit report. And I'll give you a quick example. I had a client last week and they said, I'm going to pay off this charge off. It's been on my credit for X amount of years. It's $5,000. I just feel like I really need to take care of that. I want to do the right thing. And we are close to a church, so I want you to do the right thing too. But I want you to do the right thing based on information. And did you know that paying down that charge off, that collection that in her case was almost 6 years old, could have a negative impact on her score? So the fact that she's trying to pay that, I said, well, why don't you take that money and pay down the debt that you currently have that's currently open? And if we get to a point where it's required that you pay it off, then we'll deal with that then. So it's just getting that wise counsel to make sure that you are not spending thousands of dollars on things that will not move you to the next stage. So I don't know how many myths I hit.
No, that's good. That's good because you just set up Archie for her next question, which is that pathway. So we want to talk about the pathway to home ownership, and she alluded to the financing and budgeting. But Archie, can you kind of expand on the actual program? So I know we've got a program coming up here on June 13th. June 13th, mark your calendars. June 13th, we've got a program where we're going to take you through the process. But if you could just kind of share a little bit like what the setup is.
If you attend a HUD home buyer workshop, it's typically anywhere 4+ hours. You know, it can be anywhere from 4 to 8 hours. And typically you seeing the housing counselor is there, and then there's a lender, there's a insurance, and there's an inspector, and there may be a credit person. And these are different people volunteering their time to come to educate you about the journey to homeownership. Everyone is experienced in their fields and expertise. My job is to make sure that the information they provide to you is correct. I call it remove the sandman. If someone come up there and I call it my family. If you give my family some incorrect information, then they must be removed from the floor. So my job is to understand mortgages, understand the real estate, understand insurance, understand all of that as they talk to you, that you getting that information so that as you prepare the journey to homeownership, then once you do that, we do what we call a 101. That's just me and you talking, coming up with a budget. You'll do a budget, then I'll go back over the budget and be realistic. Because when he approve you, he looking at what's on your credit. When I say what you can buy, it's going to be, do you have kids that you got daycare? Are you taking to your grandmother? What do your budget actually look at? So he may say, you can go up to $2,500 on a payment. I may say, no, you really need to stay at $2,000 because you have all this up, because I don't want you to be house poor once you close on this house. Because now you got to stay in alignment with the budget. I tell people, don't change your budget. I don't care, unless you get married or some of that nature change, you stay on that budget. If you get a raise, then that raise go into your savings. You keep watching your savings, and all of a sudden it clicks in your mind. Guess what? I see $25,000 in my savings. I see $30,000. Then you say, guess what? I can do this. And then you become empowered. So, and then we look at the credit. If the credit is, like he talked about, you can get down payment assistance if you have a 620 or you have a 640 credit score. The reason I want you in a 700 club, because then you dictate what you want, not somebody else in the room. You said, so you're the one in charge of what you decide. You go to buy a car. If you got a 600 car, you want to get a BMW, you're probably going to walk out of there with a Yugo. And that's not what you wanted. You want to get a car that you desire, but they giving you a car that they couldn't get rid of. So that's why we want you to have the power. If you sit in a 700 club and you got everything in line, and then once you get there, you're going to have to lock your credit, like Fort Knox. You only open it when you're about to buy something, because guess what? Everybody else is looking at your credit too. You get all that junk mail and the thing, that means, and everybody love Credit Karma. I love Credit Karma too. I don't. It's a marketing tool, Linda. That's all it is. That credit score that you see is not real. It's not a real
That would be another
score.
myth.
So you see that 700, I got a 7. No, Linda, you don't have no 700. That's probably 5. So but all banking institutions now offer you something to help you with your credit. It may not offer you all the bills, you may get experience, but you got to have 3 credit scores. So we explain that to you. When the lender look at you, they're looking at that Miller score. What is your Miller score? So if you got 500 and you got a 600 and you got a 620, they're going with the 620. So, we moving out of that 5. We ain't even looking at it. Remember, we saying 700. We want all of them to be floating somewhere in there so that you can go conventional if you choose. But the average American in our community go FHA. It was.
I was going to say, just to add where she was at while she had a breath, is that why it's so critical, okay? When I was chair of federal finance and housing policy, there's a difference in the type of loan programs, right? So you might have a credit score that might qualify depending on your level of service, right? And when I say level of service, because yes, you could be a veteran, but if you have other certain entitlements with your benefits, then that might get you other things within that loan program, right? Or even if you do use FHA, there's different type of level of programming within FHA. We might all say, okay, yeah, I'll take a fixer-upper, but a fixer-upper of just some paint is way different than a fixer-upper of I got to replace an entire kitchen, get some appliances, replace the carpeting, and there are loan products for that. But even to that point, when it comes to the credit score and that type of level of budgeting, that's why all that is key, because you might say, yeah, I want a a new construction, but that new construction lender that they're trying to convince you, con you, or whatever into taking may not have certain type of program that fits what your specific goals are. And that's why actually having an advocate is a professional, a realtist, because that's who we are. We're also realtors, but I also want to just make sure that distinction is there, because you need an advocate that is working for you.
Yeah, that's
He just mentioned the word realtist. How many people in here know what a realtist is? Do y'all understand why we say we are realtors? You should. I mean, then somebody got to give up y'all blank card. I'm sorry. Y'all got to give it
so
up.
this is your history lesson now.
In
This your history lesson.
1939, which we are one of the oldest boards in the United States, it was created by us for us, in order for us to build communities, to build bridge the gaps, to make the changes to go out in the communities. Those people created this organization, the Empire Board of Realtors, for us to have home ownership.
Well, the National Association of Real Estate Brokers that we all roll up into is a formation of us as Black people that were not allowed. You always see those big R's. I actually have my R on today. I have my R on, and I have my Empire Board and my NARAB on, because I am in both organizations. We are in both organizations because we were not allowed to be realtors. Blacks were not allowed. And so in order for us to serve our communities, we had to form our own organization. And so that's why you hear us say so proudly that we are realtors, we are realtists, because we want to make sure we're representing in our community, right? Making sure that we're moving the needle. And so one of the things that I heard each of them say so importantly is you need a team of advocates.
Yes.
So when you're going out to start looking for a home, and you heard us say, oftentimes we all get clients that say, I went and saw this new construction home and they told me they can do this, this, and this, and this. Well, please understand that person sitting on that site is representing that builder. They are not representing you. They represent the builder whom they are contracted with. So it is important that you build your team so that you have a realtor or realtors that is advocating for you, that you have a lender that is advocating for you, that you have an insurance agent. I see one of our preferred insurance agents out there. Wave your hand, Keith. You need an and he's not on the panel today, but he would tell you it's important. We are by nature very loyal. And we don't shop around our services. It's important to shop around your services and make sure that you have a insurance agent that is an educator and is going to inform you about what it looks like and what you need to insure on your home. So you need a home inspector. I don't see any of our home inspectors in the room today, but that's another member of your team. That is somebody that's going to come and look at that house from the roof to the crawl space, the basement. I have home inspectors that will open up the electrical box and have found termites inside the box because they opened up the box, where every inspector doesn't do that, right? You want somebody on your team that is going to make sure that whatever it is you're purchasing, because I always tell my people, you make 3 major decisions in life, right? 3 major decisions. You decide when you're going to get married, right? When somebody pops that question and you get selected, however that works, whichever side. You then decide whether or not you're going to have children, and you decide where you are going to house your family. Mm-hmm. And that one is the most expensive decision that a lot of people make in life, purchasing their first home. And so what does that look like? I want Corey to come back in and try to dive through, we hear pre-qual, pre-approval. What does the process look like? So I've gone to Archie. I've got my counseling. I am now ready. She got me in the 700s because I also want you to talk just briefly too about the fact, yes, he can get you in a home in the 4s and the 5s, but understanding the difference of what that means, interest rates and the hidden penalties, let's say, the secrets that are attached.
So I think it's about being mortgage ready. And so what I mean by that is whether it's from a credit standpoint, down payment standpoint, you need to be ready to make that next transitional step. And what that is about understanding where you are. And again, I'll go back to turning on the light. You need to understand what your credit situation is, what it will qualify you to buy. And then you need to partner with a team that will help educate you throughout the process. So if you hear the words pre-qualification, I'm going to be careful when I say this, but if you hear the words pre-qualification, I always say it doesn't mean anything. It literally is an opinion. It's like me looking at it and saying, I think this is water, but it could be vodka. I'm not really sure. But it's got EpiCenter, so I'm sure it's not vodka. But we don't know. We'll see when we drink it. That's not what you want to do when you're looking to buy a house. You want to be reviewed, income, assets, credit, and you want to have been approved. And so when you hear the words pre-approval, that means that I have looked at your credit, I've looked at your income, I've done debt to income analysis. More than likely, I've run automated underwriting, which is a computer simulated system, and I've received an approval.
Wait, debt to income analysis. You kind of buzzed through that real quick. What does that mean? Debt
So
to
debt to income analysis. Thank you for the question.
analysis. We just dropping big terms.
So debt to income is taking a look at what you earn, the gross income. So it's different from what Archie said. She talked about the budget, but this is your gross income and the debts that are on your credit report. And typically speaking, you want to be roughly 43, 45% debt to income, your bills to your income. That, in addition to the payment, is what helps you qualify for a loan. Now, there's ways to get above that, but you want to, from a budgeting standpoint, you want to be in a realistic number so that you can maintain your home. It's great to qualify for it. It's great to buy it, but you bought it to live in it long term.
Can you maintain
This
it?
is not a 6-month ordeal and we'll try it again. So you want to make sure that you really govern yourself to that budget. And I'm going to dance a little bit to something else because Archie kind of had me amped up. So she talked about if you want the home that's $2,500, but your budget tells you it's $2,000, stick to your budget. But also understand that your budget might look differently in the home that you're looking at. So maybe this first house won't have the granite countertops. Maybe it won't have the guest room for the people that you don't want to come to your house anyway. But maybe it does allow you to not have to continue to pay rent. So again, don't let the fact that you can't buy what you see on TV discourage you from owning a home. And I see that very often. I'll have clients and say, look, I want my payment to be $2,000 a month. And then they'll have their realtor showing them $400,000 houses. That math don't math. Right? So your team has to be honest with you to tell you that if you have worked with Archie and you got a budget number in mind, then we have to show you properties that will get you to that number. It's not an exact science, but we should not be showing you $400,000 if you want a $2,000 payment. That math will just not work. Now, when the rates were 2%, 3%,
Which was an anomaly.
which was a long time ago, you can get closer. But I have a huge pool of buyers right now, and everybody's looking for the same payment. They want to be under $2,000 a month. Everybody I talk to, I want to be under $2,000 a month, which is great because that's probably what you're paying in rent or a little bit more. The problem is when you start talking about what you want to look at, what schools you want to be near, all of a sudden that $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 number keeps popping up. And then what happens is you get frustrated, because you can't find the home to get you to the budget that you really should be looking at or you qualify for. So pre-qualification is an opinion. So that was the original question. Pre-approval is a review of your credit, income, assets, and really making a preliminary lending decision. Now, underwriting will review it again. So you want to make sure that the lender that you're partnering with, you are submitting all your documents up front. Because we don't want to guess when you're putting up earnest money and all the other stuff that comes with the transaction. But again, pre-approval is what you want. If someone says pre-qualification to you and they're a lender, it's not really who you should be talking to.
If I can add, I'm sorry, it's like double judge up here, right? So when we think about DTI, debt to income, I also want you to keep in mind, because what they said was very key about staying within the budget, because something you cannot predict right off the back is once you become a homeowner, it's the taxes. And then when those increase, it's the insurance when those increase. There's so many variables that you have to consider, because you can have two homes that look exactly alike, but because they cross a line, whether it's in the city municipality or if it's in the next county over, that could be a very different tax bracket. Okay. And then the insurance, because everybody decided to call the police because they saw a suspicious person, and yet there might have not been any kind of criminal activity, but because of those calls come in, the insurance company may raise those rates. Okay. So you got to kind of see between the lines. Okay. So make sure y'all check out this exhibit up top. But I really want you to keep that in mind with that debt to income, and why it's important to not necessarily say, just live below your means, but consider what those means are as definitely that threshold, because the goal is, even if it's your first home, it doesn't have to be the dream home. Okay. It could eventually, because any house can be a home. I know, right? But I do really want you to keep that in mind with your debt to income. Okay.
I got to jump in. I'm sorry. And I normally would say ladies first, but I got to get this in.
Lost control of the panel.
You mentioned car. Somebody mentioned BMW. I don't know who it was. Archie mentioned BMW. Please, please, please do not buy the car if you can help it before you buy the house. That's it. That's all I need. If you hear nothing else, if I don't say anything else, just that part, because the average payment is
$900 a month.
$900 a month. All right.
So Archie, before you jump in, because I was getting ready to throw it to you anyway, because Archie said earlier in regards to that budget, right, and operating on your budget, I think it's important that you understand when you outline that budget, when you want to inch up a little bit from 2,000 to 2,100 or 2,200, then you go back and you reassess the budget. I'll give you a quick example. I'm working with a client right now. She spends $200 a month on the gourmet dog food.
But most people
But then you're going to tell me you can't, but most people don't realize until you sit down and do that budget. And it's like, well, can we compromise? Maybe we don't need to buy Starbucks every day. So when Corey says, but you can afford this, or your lender says you can't afford this, and you're saying, no, because Archie told me I need to stay here, then you need to go back and review the budget, because maybe there's some items that need to tweak, because this is about sacrifice. This is about sacrifice, because the benefits to home ownership as opposed to paying the rental. Now, mind you, most of us up here are landlords, and we appreciate y'all being renters. We appreciate the first of the month. We appreciate those checks coming in. We thank you very much. However, our goal is to get you into home ownership. And how do we do that? That's then going back and reassessing the budget. Go, Archie.
Yes, but you got to remember, if you're renting, you paying a mortgage. It just ain't your mortgage.
It just ain't yours.
You are
appreciate you.
If you live in an apartment and you also paying for the maintenance man. It's inside the rent.
That's right.
So, and guess what? You don't get to write it off.
How much is the rate on rent?
Zero.
It's 100%.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, I got you.
You can't even write that 100% off, because you can only write off children's and a home. I made my contribution of 3 to this society. That's all it's going to be out of me. Now, if you all want to keep having some children to write off, but even the government stopped you at 3. So if you have 4, 5, and 6, you just have them. And they average you about $10,000 a year, and you don't get to write off the rest of them. So it is so important that you make that investment. So, during COVID, people bought home using not having a lender that they could trust, honestly. So I'm also a foreclosure prevention. Unfortunate in this community, Douglasville, I don't know what the heck is going on. What did they do? Who did they see? What did the lender tell them? Right now, I bet you we get 5 calls a day or more right here in this area here. So I'm not quite sure what happened, but people was getting loans because it was 1%, 2%, and they was going to online lenders and doing the thing. But if you don't, I have nothing against online lenders. But if you can't talk to them and see them eye to eye and be able to think about how can you trust, and it's okay, but you really need a lender that is willing to go the extra mile. I tell Al, in the 35 years I work, I work all kind of deals, whether it's hard, good, and I tell him make it work. I tell him make it work, because if you're willing to do what he tell you to do, he need to make it. If he say I need you to pay this off, it's gonna take us 6 months to get there. If you do this, then he need to make it work. If he told you if you pay these things off and we're going to watch your credit card get going up, then guess what? He making an investment in you. And you also have to interview your real estate agent, because every real estate agent is about
that part.
Some are just about the dollar.
a transaction as
Yeah, about
opposed
the
to a
transaction, but you
relationship.
got to realize it's not about transaction. It's transformation because we're changing people's lives. We're changing community. So if you got an agent trying to wait to make sure they have some money in the bank, then that ain't the agent for you. So, everybody got to be, and so as you go through the classes, you can have what we call post classes, 6 months, 60 days right after you close it. We redo a budget because now you got utilities, they may have changed. You might have been in an all utility unit. Now you got gas, you got water, you got sewer, you got different things going on now. Now we go back and revisit the budget to see what now needs to be changed. So,
That budget is so important. I see
but
you. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna make that transition
but
because I want to
I'm gonna
make
tell
sure
you,
y'all have Q&A. Come on,
yeah.
Archie.
But the credit, if you are 3 months after you make them first 3 payments, guess what? Your credit started to soar. When you make that third payment, because now you got the largest debt on your credit that you're gonna ever have. And if you're making it on time, guess what? Everybody in America want to give you a credit card. You
Oh,
used to
she
have
done
that
went
five
into a whole
hundred
nother
dollars.
discussion.
You used to have that $500 Capital One card. Guess what? Capital One say we send you to what's that venture card? We giving you 5,000 now.
Yeah.
Like, oh well, I tried to get that a year ago, and you denied me. So now all of a sudden it's changed. But that's another whole nother.
She
How to
done
use
went into the
credit
class.
card.
She went into the class, y'all. Y'all got to come back on June 13th. I want to be mindful because I did see some hands. I did want to drop one more nugget because Corey mentioned earlier that you can buy your first property as a investment property. And we kind of coach some of our people, especially our young people that are buying their first home. It's your first home, not your last home. So what does that look like? You can buy a multi-family home. You can buy a multi-unit home, which means you live on one side, you rent out the other side. So I just wanted to drop that just so you all could hear that because we want you to understand wealth building. That's a gap that we have in our community. We were always taught buy the house, pay the mortgage off, you stay there for 30 years. I got a client right now, older lady, she's starting to service dementia. And so her son is looking to sell the house. They've owned this house for 60 years. 60 years over in DeKalb. And guess what's around them? Multi-million-dollar houses. Multi-million-dollar houses. But I say that with caution to say, yes, they did the right thing. They've lived in the house, and mama now lives in that house in 60 years, and son's trying to figure out how to take care of her. So we have wealth building in that, but there's so many other opportunities for wealth building. The days of, and anybody that knows me will hear me say all the time, I'm gonna die with a mortgage. My goal is not to pay a mortgage off. It's how do we leverage it to then buy the second, the third property, the additional properties to be able to build your generational wealth. And I'm going to leave it at that. I saw a hand back here. Yes, ma'am. She's going to come to you with the mic.
Thank you. So my name is Aretha Townsend. And my question is, you were speaking about foreclosure prevention.
Mhm.
And two of the things that stood out the most and when speaking on that topic is lenders and your lock-in rate. So with lenders, generally you start out with trusted lenders. And then somewhere through that year or two or so many years after, it changes to a new lender. Could you elaborate on that process and why you don't have the owner don't have the choice of which lender
Yeah,
they can
because
stick with?
now
That's the first question.
what the average Americans don't know. Every note when you close on a deal here, the note is sold to another country.
Mm-hmm.
United States own very few residential notes. So you don't really have control because if you ever call your lender, it say we are a servicing company, a provider. So they are working, if it's Bank of America, I don't give a who it is. They say because they work for whoever purchased your note. So you agreed when you signed your document, you agreed to pay your note. It didn't say, you're going to be paying to Wells Fargo through the life of the loan. It's just you sign an agreement that your note is due on the first of the month. Now, what most people get twisted, that they think they have to the 30th. And they give you a grace period to the 15th, but your note is due on the 1st. You actually late on the 2nd. So in the state of Georgia, because of in 2008 they changed and they won't foreclose you until after 90 days. But the thing it is, they have to advertise it in the paper in the 14. What you don't know, in the state of Georgia, we're one of the only 7 states that when you sign your closing docs, you also sign your foreclosure docs. So there is no redemption period here in Georgia.
Non-judicial foreclosure.
Yes.
Let me add to that because I want to make sure I hit that part. So she's talking about servicing companies. So they have to notify you 30 days prior to it being sold so that you have time enough, 45 days, sorry, so that you have time enough to make the payment. But I used to always explain it this way. So if you own a loan, you own servicing, they're waiting for you to pay that interest back over 30 years. They can sell your loan, get a lump sum now so that they can do the loan for your next door neighbor. So it is part of the process for them to generate capital. They don't notify you because of what Archie just mentioned. You've already signed the document giving them the authority to sell that servicing. Sometimes it sells 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. The best thing that I can recommend is, because it's really not a way to not have that done unless you are buying cash, but you want to make sure that you're keeping up with your mail. You want to make sure you're keeping up with your email, because when those transfers happen, you don't want to get caught in the system where you sent your payment here, but it didn't show up and all of a sudden you got a late payment. So they don't bring you into that process, but it's how they generate capital to continue loaning money.
So a part of that is when you were explaining that you're the foreclosure prevention person, a lot of times through those transitional loops is that you end up going to a bottom feeder lender. And so, which means that those lenders can be scandalous and shady. And so definitely you do have to maintain, keep
But
a good
also
record.
the average person do not know how to talk to the lender.
Okay.
If you try to do, there's modification, there's what they call mod flex, there's partial claims. So when you try to do your own modification, if you don't understand the language how to talk to your lender, you could end up with something totally different. Right now, they could move your loan out to 40 years. You could have a 3%. Now you got a 6%. They're going to move it out to 40 years. So if you don't understand what's about to happen, they send you the docs and they give you so many days to sign. They may put you on a trial period. If you miss one time, then you void. Now they changed the new law in 2024 that you can only do modification once every 24 months. So you have to know. That's why we suggest anyone call a housing counseling agency. They send you a letter, but what people most do, they start avoiding the mail because they don't know what to get the money from. Unfortunately, Georgia was one of the states that still had money from Obama. Unfortunately, that funds is no longer. We just lost it. So now we have to figure out how do we communicate with the lender. The lender really don't want to have to foreclose.
Yeah.
So, but I tell people if I just have 14 days prior to foreclosure, I will fight. The pastor won't get in trouble. But we will fight to make sure that you can stay in. What other avenue? If you have the income to stay in there, a flex mod, maybe that you change job and they, put you, give you some months to put it, to allow you to be late so you can get some paycheck, or they put it in the rear and then you call it's similar to like what we call a silent second. Those payments are put in the rear, and the only thing happens is the notes are not due until you do something. You either refinance or you sell the property.
So that's what I wanted to make sure there's a point of clarity. Your original terms are your original terms, no matter who the service provider is.
Correct.
Right? It is until you activate some type of other option, meaning I want to remod or do a flex or any of those. Your original terms are always what you signed on closing, and they stay with you and your house until you activate something else. So regardless of the service provider. We're going to go to this second question because I
really want to just caveat to that, because just know this, okay? You've seen legislators on news and everything, because right now institutional investors are not all the time at the courthouse steps. They're not calling the agents and submitting offers there. They're going directly to the banks and buying up those loans.
Yeah.
So it's not all banks will do a modification. But the key part to having a housing counselor is they can slow that process
Yes.
down for you so that you can get proper planning put in place. And I also want to say it's not always just about foreclosure prevention. When you have a housing counselor, if you're going through a natural disaster situation, there are other type of things that need to be discussed that can help you with your budgeting. And that's where someone like Archie is very paramount to help you in whatever situation you are in to get you prepared before you even have to contact for foreclosure. Okay, I want to put that out there.
All right, so let's get to the next question. I want to get to this gentleman here. There's another young lady here in the center of the room here, and I think we have time for one more after that. Beyond that, everybody, then I want to be able to invite everybody. We have a few announcements, and then I want to be able to invite everyone upstairs so that you can see the exhibit, okay? Because there's a ton of great information there that'll get you the jump start to go down the rabbit hole that you need to be able to contact each one of these folks on our panel, okay? Here's our next question.
Yes, first off, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being here today and providing us with the nuggets that you have. My two-part question is, right quickly, as you were stating, I started out with Bank of America, and it's now been taken over by two other mortgage companies. All right, they're supposedly trying to change the date, but I did know that I have a grace period to make the payment. When I initiated it, it was to be done between the 3rd and the 5th of the month, my mortgage to be paid. So I guess I can speak to Miss Archie about that later to let other people get in. And then I'm interested, I know it's not really a seller's market right now, but a buyer's market. I'm interested in selling my home, but I don't want to sell it to have to go into the street prior to purchasing another home. So which of you on the panel would I speak to about that?
So let's first of all bust that myth.
That's a great question.
There's no such thing as a seller's market and a buyer's market. How about we do that, right? There is a real estate market where there is someone that wants to sell, there is someone that wants to buy. It is the terms of that agreement that make it such. And I think we listen to the talking heads in the media so often to hear about, oh, it's a seller's market and it's so hot right now. And, we got multiple offers, or it's a buyer's market and you can just go offer, whatever you want on somebody's home. No, that is just the cyclical market of real estate. So yes, 8 years ago we had 2%. Now we at 6 and 7%. The market ebbs and flows. It's the bell curve that we all learned way back in 7th grade, right? It is what it is. I think what's most important is what are your goals and your desires to sell your house. So that then becomes sitting down with a professional that says, what are your goals? Where are you? What do you wish to do when you leave this house? Where do you want to go to? And then you put a strategic plan together. So if I hope that answers your
I think when
question.
people start selling as a buyer market, as a seller market, they changed the concept of what the definition was.
Absolutely.
That's what it was. So, when people say buyer's market, some people, man, I can just go offer these people anything because it's a buyer's market. That's not me. That's not what it really means. It means that there could be more properties on the market that you can buy. And there's less people trying to buy at the time. So the seller home is staying there longer. And so you may be able to get a little bit better deal. Now, because I can tell you, that when we're talking about finding an agent, you need an agent that know how to negotiate a deal. That's what the agent is. That's their job. It's negotiate. If you talking about an attorney, if you want a negotiator, you call the agent. Attorney probably don't. That's why they don't like us. Because if you want somebody that's going to negotiate a deal when it comes to the dollar, call a real estate professional.
And that's why it's important that you interview your team members, that the team member understands your desires, your wants, your needs, your hates, your likes, your dislikes, all of that. This is an interview process. You're interviewing whomever that person that should be on your team, and we're interviewing you too. Because if I got a seller that's saying, no, I know I can get $500,000 in my house, and I'm sitting here telling you the market is only going to give $420, that's the will of the market, then I might not be the agent for you, because I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to fluff your head up and say we can get $500,000 for this house. We're not. What we're going to have is a piece of property that's going to sit on the market beyond the days on the market that it should. So that's why it's important to make sure you know who's on your team. Go.
All right, we have one more question here.
Thank you so much for all the information. It's been so good. My question as an entrepreneur is finding a lender a little more, is it different? Because I'm just
the process as being an entrepreneur? Is it a little different when it comes to?
So I'll answer it like this. If you're self-employed, what is the process? The process could be the same depending on how your income is documented. So self-employed, people, they file their taxes, and some are very creative from a write-off standpoint. But great news is that, depending on your credit profile, it may give you some flexibility as to what you can qualify for. If you need to verify exit income, can you go off your bank statements? Can you go off of your tax returns? Can you use a profit and loss statement? There are all different ways to help self-employed or entrepreneurs to establish home ownership. If you're buying your primary residence or if you're buying an investment properties, there's different criteria for those as well. So it's really about starting the process, interviewing your team, whether it's a lender and or realtor, and then being very transparent with the documentation that you provide, and provide it upfront. Because if you can provide it upfront, and I'll give another example, and I'll make it quick. I have a client, they are exterminators by trade, wife's 735 score, husband is not. But they are self-employed, and they sent me their tax returns, and I'm looking and I'm like, okay, there's no income here. I said, aha, but send me your bank statements. And they're sending me 12 months bank statements, and we're going to average out their deposits to qualify, because we have a program that will allow them to do that. Now, they have a 7-something credit score. So back to Archie's point. Also, back to Archie's point, they have money saved, so they can do the 10% down. So you can't necessarily do that situation and then say, well, now I want to do down payment assistance, and now I need to put 3% down. All of those things don't go together. So you want to provide the information so that they can tailor that product or solution to your situation. Everyone's different.
Yeah, but we see truck drivers. Lord Jesus, I love them, so beautiful, but they want to write off everything that they touch. They make great money, but everything they touch, the water, the gloves, everything they touch, and then the income was adjusted income was $27,000 a year. But he really made about $200 and some thousand a year. But he wrote off everything. So he's like, I'll make less than the Burger King lady. And I'm like, you on paper? So that's all the house you gonna get. So, and then now we gotta wait a whole year to readjust, to show him that you gotta readjust, and you can't write off. You're gonna have to pay, I'm sorry, you're gonna pay Uncle Sam some money. You're getting the 1099, bringing all the money home. You got to now reposition yourself. So we have a lot of young people that are going into self-employment now, and we're trying to teach them early. So we do a lot of youth financial classes as well, teaching them how to be an entrepreneur and how to prepare to build your wealth, go into home ownership and all of that, because early stage of education is key.
And I want to add, just to close out, because I know we got one more. One of the key things that Archie just said was, how we write off everything. And so that's another team member that you need to have. Gone are the days where you go to the bookkeeping lady that's, in her basement, y'all. You really need a tax accountant professional that you can sit down and do a strategy with. So just like you're building this team, if you're literally trying to build wealth, and especially as an entrepreneur, like I sit down with my tax accountant professional that worked for the IRS for over 13 years to say, here's what we're looking to do for the next 3 to 5 years. We would like to purchase another investment property. So as an entrepreneur, as much as I would love to write everything off, I cannot. And so that's a person that needs to be on your team to say, well, Donna, what do you want to do? Linda, what do you want to do? Corey, what's the goal here? Would you like to have 3 houses, 5 houses? Where are you investing so that your financial picture looks strong? And Corey's not digging for 12 or 24 months to figure out what you put in the account. And oh, by the way, when he's digging for 12 months, it's showing your budgeting habits. It's showing your spending habits. He has everything. So he's still trying to paint the picture. You still can't go to Starbucks every day. And I digress. I've fallen off the horse. Go ahead, Corey.
Great. We have 2 more questions, and then I have a couple of announcements, and then we got a break, okay? So go ahead, ma'am.
Yes. Will you be giving any lunch and learns for the veterans? Because I am.
Oh man, yes, we literally just sat here before this session. So with the amazing, okay, I'm gonna let the EpiCenter do the announcements because we literally just scheduled it. because
Stay tuned.
right, and because of that, you all, that's kind of what they were saying earlier. Is each loan? I think Amy said it about, there's different types of FHA loans. There's different type of conventional loans. There's different ways you can leave what they call is that financial product. Their products, their programs are different within the institutions, within the mortgage companies, and so understanding the different dynamics of those is what helps you get to the goal quicker.
All right, so we have one more question, then we got some announcements, and then I will encourage everybody to go upstairs and check out the brand new exhibit, The Keys to Equity, okay? Just to here we are.
I just want to say, and you guys obviously correct me if I'm wrong, but we're talking about credit and mortgage payments. On the 1st, it's due. On the 2nd, you're late.
That's right.
I learned the hard way. Maybe it's changed. I know you mentioned a law had changed, but on the 15th, they report it to the credit bureau.
Yep.
So I obviously long learned the hard way when I pulled my credit to do something else. Working in housing, I called them and I said, hey, as a courtesy, could you remove this, please? But they won't. So not only are you late on the 15th, your credit will drop significantly.
You're late on the 2nd. One of the things I tell people at the closing table is at the end of the day, as Archie said earlier, your mortgage payment is due on the 1st. The myth is that you got these 15 days of grace period, right? That grace is just accumulating more interest. So every day that you pay after the 1st is accumulating more interest. Now that's a whole nother class that we can talk to y'all about the difference in the 30-year mortgage, the 15-year mortgage, the 20-year mortgage, throwing an extra payment out there, but we're not going to do that because Corey got announcements.
Amy, so because we're over time, please, I'm sorry. So this is great. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here this afternoon. Everybody give them a hand. Give yourselves a hand for coming here to receive this information, to get this information. And Amy, I really, really, really do appreciate you. Y'all, this is the spirit of Ida B. Wells right here. This lady right here will go hard in the paint. I spoke to Amy last week. She says, oh, no, I'm driving to Memphis. In Memphis? Yeah, I'm going to speak to Mayor Young out here about the housing and the blah, 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 blah. I think that was the same week when they gutted the Voting Rights Act. And then she said, I'm leaving Memphis and then I'm driving to Little Rock. Oh, yeah, and then I'm going to... So, guys, please, 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 she has curated this amazing, amazing, amazing exhibit upstairs. So I would admonish all of you to go upstairs and go check out this exhibit. Our panelists will stick around for a little bit because to be able to answer some more of your questions, get a business card, exchange information, and do all of that. So that way you can go and do your homework, do your research on your own and find out what their retainers are. So that way you can get what you really need out of them. And then also, everybody, please do remember, today is our $2 Tuesday right here at the Riverside EpiCenter from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. I got bowling in the bowling alley for $2. Tomorrow is Senior Bowl, right, from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. and I do bowling for $1 a game. So please do make sure. And if anybody loves this beautiful facility and you see us and you want to host us something here, we have some of our sales team and an accounting team right here in the back of the room. Go see Miss Sharon if you want to book an event here on the event side, in the bowling alley, rock climbing wall, whatever you want to do. We are here to serve you as well. And please do make sure for all of my educators in the building, if you are an educator, we are hosting what I call the Teachers Lounge. It's a free event to say thank you to our educators, to our school teachers, and our education adjacent folks to blow off a little steam at the end of the school year here. And we'll do it again in August to kick off the school year as well. And then, of course, also on May 29th, we have our trail ride coming up here. So, have your boots on the ground and all that good stuff. So please do make sure you check all of us all on our social media at Riverside EpiCenter for everything, riversideepicenter.com. And
those seminars that are going to be happening.
Yes, and also make sure you watch for our newsletter, social media, and everything, because we're going to have a heap of seminars coming up too, guys, that are going to be in association or in conjunction with the exhibit happening upstairs for our veterans. Thank you so much for your service, because Memorial Day is coming up here on next Monday, and so we have to say thank you, and we appreciate everybody, for those who've made the ultimate sacrifice, for those who continue to serve, and even for those families of our service members as well, because they are serving right alongside with those individuals too. And with that being said, because we all know the famous cliche, if you want to hide something from one of us, what they do, you put it in the book, or these days it's the internet and they bury it in all kinds of language. So we have to make sure that we educate ourselves. And, for those of us who are a certain age, you don't just go to one doctor anymore, right? You got a doctor for your back. You got a doctor for your feet. You got a doctor for everything, right? Well, this is your team. When they say, well, you have your people call my people, these are your people. You got to have your lending expert. You got to have the person who knows how to go and find the piece of real estate and negotiate the deal. You have to have the person who get the knowledge and education and advocacy to make sure that we can hold our local elected officials accountable for legislation and things that are happening right here where you live. So with that being said, thank you, everybody. We really, really, really greatly appreciate you, everybody. That concludes this month's edition of our Epic Talks Lunch and Learn series. Please do make sure you go on our website, find it on YouTube. We'll post all the clips on social and YouTube and everything. And then we have our Epic Talks unredacted podcast coming soon. So that will conclude it all, everybody. We thank you so much right here at the Riverside EpiCenter. My name is Corey Webb. I am the entertainment and community engagement manager here, and we really, really, really do appreciate each and every one of you. So now upstairs is open. The cafe is still open. Go get some lunch, and we really, really appreciate you. Thank you so much.